Hey guys, it's Emma Vigling with TYT Politics. I hope everyone's having a lovely Friday. I know it's been a rough week, I'm sure, but don't forget, go to tytnetwork.com/go. Donate whatever you can. We're trying to get not one, not two, not three, but 4, maybe 5 Jordan Sheridans. So if you thought he shook up the establishment, you guys are going to be really happy with the other people that Cenk is thinking of hiring. So we're having a big drive, tytnetwork.com/go. Don't forget to check out Jordan's continued coverage. He's been in Standing Rock for what seems like a decade and a half. So go check out those videos. And as soon as I'm done with my plug, I will run into this new Politico story that I wasn't able to get to yesterday, but I thought it was really fascinating. So we've talked a lot about how the Democrats have not taken the correct lessons from, in my opinion, the correct lessons from the results, the disastrous results where they got swept on every level of government. The presidency, they were beaten by an orange orangutan fascist. Then they didn't regain the Senate, which they were bragging about doing. They didn't get the House back, not a chance. And now 69 out of 99 state legislatures across the country are bought by Republicans or are completely taken over by Republicans. So it's a complete loss. You would think that they would reevaluate their strategy and think, look, populism worked on the right. Faux populism, where he pretended that he was going to bring their jobs back. We were supposed to be the party of the working people. Maybe we should kind of actually give people populism, because this smokescreen thing isn't working anymore, and this donor thing isn't working anymore. Alas, that doesn't seem to be the way that they're going. Although there is still hope. Keith Ellison in March may be the DNC chair. We have no idea. A lot of famed people and big Democratic figureheads have thrown their endorsements in the ring. Tulsi Gabbard was one today, as infamously Chuck Schumer actually endorsed him, which is a very smart political move on his part. And John Lewis actually endorsed Keith Ellison today. So John Lewis is obviously a big civil rights figure and has kind of fallen into the establishment trappings in recent years, but, you know, he's done enough good. I do not begrudge him anything. Anyway, so this is a Politico article from Gabrielle Debendetti. Geez, I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. So it's called Meet the Democrats Proto-Trumps. This is from Politico. Dear Lord, so what the Democrats are taking from this is not that they should, again, crowdsource and become more populist, but we should run our own rich people. The article begins. 4 weeks out from Donald Trump's victory in the presidential election, Democrats may soon be launching a few unorthodox, mega-rich candidates of their own. In 3 major states with governors' mansions up for grabs in 2018, a big-name, politically active billionaire or multimillionaire is taking steps towards a run, donors looking to take matters into their own hands after the 2016's gutting loss. So, yes, these are the people that actually run the show, the donors. So now they're saying, it's not enough for us to be behind the scenes, we want to actually be running the show, because clearly our lackeys can't do their jobs, and they can't deliver for us, and they have no ability to actually win on the state or federal level, so we, the donors ourselves, are going to run. In Florida, it's John Morgan, a wealthy attorney who has long been one of the Democratic Party's biggest swing state fundraisers. In Illinois, it's J.B. Pritzker, the businessman and philanthropist with a history of pumping cash and Chicago political support towards Hillary Clinton. And in California, it's Tom Steyer, a hedge fund manager turned climate activist who used the 2014 and 2016 election cycles to become one of the left's single biggest donors to the tune of over $140 million. And more may be on the way. It's an unexpected development that stands to inject new life into the Democratic Party, but also exposes a lack of a clear pipeline for young rising Democrats after a series of losses at a time when they are down to just 18 governors across the country from just 29 8 years ago. There seems to be a feeling that we need to look beyond the normal folks we always look to, the normal types, says Elizabeth Pearson, the Democratic Governors Association executive director, who said that the party was discussing a need to look beyond the type of people who have been elected before and look at who else might be out there. So, by who else might be out there, the people that donated to us in the first place. Devastating losses have led the party to shakeups before, some Democrats noted, and positive changes have been the result. They cited past efforts to boost fundraising and coordinate messages. More fundraising, exactly. That's what we should be taking away from this. The Democracy Alliance was born out of the ass-kicking we got in the 2000 and 2004 elections, says Ben Pillara, the Florida Democratic consultant who is running Morgan's political efforts, referring to the Liberal Donor Network. This could be a new strain of that, not just saying that we could do better than the Democratic infrastructure, but also the standard Democratic candidates. So what I'm taking away from this is that, yes, would it potentially be better to have someone, a donor, someone whose motivations are entirely clear, who is self-funding their own campaign, than a candidate who is being bought off? Whew, I mean, I guess pick your poison. I would take the former. I would probably take someone whose motivations where you can see them straight on the table. That's what a lot of Republicans believed when they picked Donald Trump. That's why he swept through the primary and he just clobbered people like Scott Walker, who were completely bought off by the Kochs, Marco Rubio, other, Ted Cruz, who was bought off by by the Mercers. And coincidentally, the Mercers are now also funding Donald Trump. So drain the swamp, exactly. Donald Trump is a wolf in sheep's clothing, for lack of a better phrase. He is bought off, but he had the appearance of not being so because he was largely self-funded in the primary. But is the solution that the Democrats should stoop to that level? Should we have an oligarchy? Should we be trending towards a system of government where the people that are running the show are actually the richest people in the country? People think Bernie Sanders is an impossible standard, but to be an actual servant of the people, you can't just be in the donor class. I said that yesterday. The Democrats have to make a choice. Are they the party of the working people, or are they a party of the liberal elite and the cocktail crowd? And Sanders has said that repeatedly. And this is trending in the real opposite direction. And I would think that if Keith Ellison is the DNC chair, that he would have a significant problem with the major Democratic Party candidates being billionaires and millionaires from major states. The article continues, putting more in depth these three candidates that they're discussing. In Illinois, Pritzker and his family are well known, particularly in Chicago, and incumbent Republican Governor Bruce Rauner is himself a wealthy self-funder, likely making a coming race all the more expensive. An heir to the Hyatt Hotel fortune with a career in private equity and venture capital, and an estimated net worth of over $3 billion, which is probably more than Donald Trump has, though he pretends to have more. Pritzker, who ran unsuccessfully for the U.S. House against Rep. Jan Schakowsky in the 1998 primary, so yes, we should have another loser, has been calling around to political power players to gauge support. The brother of the Commerce Secretary Penny Pritzker, he has been a prominent Barack Obama donor only after Hillary Clinton's loss in the 2008 primary. Steyer, who is estimated to be worth over $1.5 billion, has, through his Next Gen Climate Group, substantially increased his own recognition across California by appearing in a series of political television ads after he briefly flirted with the Senate run. Let me just stop there for a second. California is supposed to be a liberal bastion. Why can't we just take that as a test run? Why do we have to force rich billionaires through California? Most people that are going to win the governor's race, I know there have been outliers, but especially in this anti-Trump mentality, are going to be Democrats. So why don't we take a lesson from California? Why don't we see what we can do in a blue state like that? See if we can crowdsource. See if we can have an actual populace there. Colorado's experimented with a lot of different liberal ideas. I know they weren't able to pass single payer, but marijuana right there is thriving. There haven't been any issues. They've been able to use those tax dollars towards education and to other infrastructure projects within Colorado. So why doesn't California, with all of its blueness and its liberalness, take a page from that notebook and try to see what they can do with progressive principles and progressive candidates, instead of running Steyer, who's worth $1.5 billion, and who, by the way, I looked up Next Gen on Open Secrets, great website for anyone that wants to investigate political corruption. He donated Next Gen, his organization, donated $1.8 million to Hillary Clinton, none to Bernie Sanders, coincidentally. So it's a climate group who supports a candidate that supports fracking. Seems to make sense. But here's even worse. donated $4.6 million to Donald Trump. That's the candidate that we want in California as the governor in a blue state where you can just push towards the infinite possibilities of having someone who actually represents Californians. Unreal. The article continues. And Morgan is well known across Florida due to his high-profile law practice and its ubiquitous ads, not to mention his advocacy of liberal causes like 2016's successful legal medical marijuana ballot initiative. Notorious in Democratic circles as one of the most outspoken and brash major donors, Morgan spent much of 2015 vilifying former Democratic National Committee chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz for failing to support his marijuana drive. He put out a preliminary platform in November. I don't like when liberal principles win in that initiative, in that way, because it sets a precedent for saying, yeah, we can have some good stuff get done, like medical marijuana being passed. But it sets a precedent for saying, then there's nothing wrong with the system. Yes, there is something wrong with the system. You can't just have little crumbs here and there, and things get done. It also goes to show that this guy Morgan, the fact that he was vilifying Debbie Wasserman Schultz purely for not backing his financial interests and not for how she completely tipped the scales in the primary, goes to show that he's kind of a little only self-interested, not really caring about the democratic process. I will close with this because this quote was so out of touch and revealing for me. So if anyone knows Mike Gilmore, he's a big Democratic funder. He was quoted in this article as saying, "Self-funding candidates are a critical part of our party strategy going forward," acknowledged Mike Gilmore, a longtime Democratic fundraiser. "But my perspective is not that the candidates have to be wealthy. They just have to be able to raise the necessary fundraising." Now, I'm going to speculate that Mike Gilmore isn't talking about $27 a person, $27 a donation fundraising. Once again, the Democratic establishment is failing to acknowledge that the way that they have been doing things haven't been working. And the only way for people to get on board with their weak T-ness is to have strong progressives on the other side. People seem to think that Donald Trump won purely because of his racism. That was a huge, huge part of it. But another part of it was that he appealed to working people and that he exuded strength. And he said, this is what I'm going to get done. People respond to that. People respond to change. They respond to strength. And just saying, and when you have Democrats who are supposed to be the progressive party and also have business interests, they can't be strong for the people because they also have that in their back pocket. That's why the Republicans always win in the House and in the Senate in these battles, because they are funded to be ideologues. They are funded to be absolutely nuts. But when you have people on the left who are funded by big money, they're just people that'll play ball. So that makes them inherently weaker and not as principled. But when you have people that are funded by individual contributors, that creates strong progressives and strong people that are going to fight back against the insane goddamn Republicans. And that's what we need. Because if you have weakness against strength, strength always wins. And that's why the Democrats are out of power on every single level, from frickin' president to dog catcher in this country. Weak tea is not working anymore.